Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm Jeff Howard, and I have a returning champion with me. I've got Ty Clancey in person. Hey, Ty.
Hello. It's good to be back.
It's good to have you here. So I actually did prepare. I can name. Well, I guess first of all, you were on this podcast.
Yes.
I don't know when we recorded it, but we released it in March of 2023.
That's right.
And I believe this is 2025.
It is. Oh, yes.
That's really
we have made
up.
it. Yeah.
How fucked up is that it's 2025?
Really slipped by.
That is like this is. It is funny. I'm older than you, but it's funny to live long enough that all those sci-fi years in the movies are like, okay, well now we're past Back to the Future, and we're past. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
yeah. Where they actually traveled to in the future.
Yeah. Like
this year's Running Man. Did you know that?
This is the year Running Man.
Yeah.
See, that is the perfect example,
isn't it?
Holy shit! What are we doing? What are we doing with our lives? Well, actually, but I can use my voice to turn off and on these lights. So
hey,
it's a little Star Trek. I don't want to name the mega corporation that makes that happen, but Lord knows we'll all be their slaves soon.
Yes.
Well, so that was the first time you were on the podcast, and now you're here to talk about many things. But I will name the films because the first time you were here, it was for Thank You for Staying.
Yep.
Which was at Sherman Oaks Film Festival in 2021. But in 2023, your film Drawn.
Yes.
And Drawn is, well, where can people watch Drawn?
That's a great question. It's nowhere right now.
Oh, it's tied to the vest still.
It's tied to the vest,
well,
yeah.
Well, then I'm very sorry, dear listener, but I'm about to name the awards it won.
Yes, please do.
It won the Grand Jury Award for Best Featurette Horror.
Wow.
Because, and it won the Grand Jury Award for Best Cinematography for a featurette.
Really? Yes.
For Stephen Tringali.
Stephen Tringali, yes. He's a very, very talented individual.
That film looks superb. But it is a great, I assume you would call it a horror short.
Yeah.
But I call it a featurette.
I like that.
I don't know if you know this, like Sherman Oaks, something weird happened during COVID, which is, back in the day, if a short was over 15 minutes, it was almost sure to suck.
Okay, yeah.
And then something happened in 2020, and both festivals started getting 20-minute plus films that were really good. Like almost like the quality goes up now once you're past 15 minutes.
Well, it's like you brought everyone out there. Why don't we shoot a little longer and see if we can make it a little longer?
Or they just, maybe during COVID they learned to edit better, and I don't know what it was.
Well, sometimes they haven't edited it well if it's over 20 minutes.
Agreed. But we started seeing really good ones, so I finally reached
like featurette
point.
though. That's a nice category because yes, I did find that I couldn't submit Drawn because it's 24 minutes, I think.
24, yeah.
Yeah, and there was some that just wouldn't take it because it was too long, and and I think that I wrote it. It was something like 13 pages long, so it should have been under. Should have been under 20, but yeah, I just I got into the edit and I wanted to sort of take my time with it, and you want to test it out? There you go.
No. I just distracted Ty. Well, because my waveforms are bigger than yours.
Okay.
And that's making me suspicious.
Should we test it out?
It's making me suspicious. Yeah, just...
No worries.
Fuck it, we'll pause. And we're back.
All right.
And I know I was about to tell you, so it just seemed shitty. We used to have the dividing point at 45 minutes between short and feature.
Right.
But you know what? A great 24-minute short or 32-minute short should not be going after the same award as a 7 to 12-minute short.
I agree. It's kind of a different...
Because it's too much to ask the jury to be like, it's either unfair to the 7 to 12-minute,
right,
or it's unfair to the 20-plus. So we just said, well, let's not make 45 minutes the dividing line. 0 to 20 is a short, 20 to 60 is a featurette, and 60-plus is a feature. And it is less fun as the programmer to figure out how to squeeze all these great 20-plus minute films in. But we've had some, it's especially helpful, I think, in documentary because there will be like a 45-minute doc. Because I think they're planning it for PBS or whatever.
Sure, yeah,
and
yeah.
so there's like pledge drive or whatever. So it's almost like old-fashioned TV where you figure 22 minutes per half
little
hour.
break, yeah.
So it just allows us to have like, I don't know, just to not ignore that packet of films that are actually...
And to actually, I like that you put it into a category of its own because, I think it puts you in a certain mindset when something's short. It's going to be 5 minutes. Like, all right, I'm going to be in and out. Probably not going to get too deep into this character, versus something that's over 20 minutes can get a little more love to the atmosphere of the character. And so it's not truly fair to, the...
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense for us. And as you know, I always joke that someday we're going to make up T-shirts that say Sherman Oaks Film Festival, the festival that gives a shit. But it sort of fits in the fact that we care because especially when it comes to the awards and stuff, but also, yeah, like you said, the expectation. You longer form. And then I actually did geek out when we pulled I forget who suggested Featurette. I don't think it was me because we needed a word. And actually in the golden age of Hollywood, it was common to have two reelers.
Right.
And a two-reeler, whether it was, the Marx Brothers and Three Stooges or a newsreel or whatever, they called it Featurette. And so it kind of is calling back to the old days.
I like that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good things. Good things.
It's good things.
So Drawn, in my world, was a Featurette.
Well, I didn't know it took home those awards. I like you like to surprise me on these podcasts with the awards.
That happened the first time too, didn't it?
Yeah, we won the Filmmakers Award on the first on Thank You for Staying.
I think that's because you're just a busy person.
Oh, well.
And you don't check your email as much.
That might be it. That could be it.
Because I swear to you, there's you.
It's that toddler in my life is really taking up a lot of my time.
You have a little one. Fair enough. And when, so Drawn was a year ago.
Yeah.
So you would have gotten an email in December of 2023. In fact, that was the first year.
December of 2023. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so you might have been super. Also, one funny thing about Sherman Oaks Film Festival is that we hold it now. It used to always be the weekend before Thanksgiving. Now it's the weekend after. And that really boosted attendance, actually.
Did it? Nice.
Yeah, I didn't realize it. It was the theater pushed us into that. The new theater, Look Cinemas in Glendale.
Yes.
They were like, we're getting ready for big releases for things. So it'd be the weekend after. And then it turned out attendance went up, and I realized, the weekend before Thanksgiving, everyone's prepping.
Yeah. Prepping, getting ready to go, maybe leaving town.
The weekend after Thanksgiving, everyone is relaxed, and they're like...
No one's generally booked anything, you know what I mean? Scheduled anything for that week
they're
after.
Like, I'll start thinking about Christmas next week. But it's just like the recovery weekend, and they can go watch their friends' films or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's been really nice. But that does mean that by the time our jury figures their shit out and announces the awards, everyone's focused on Christmas.
Deep in the holidays, yeah.
It's deep. Like December 14th, 15th is not a good time to send someone an email. Congratulations, you won an award. So I'm giving you that excuse.
Well, that's great. I appreciate it.
You were busy.
I appreciate that.
Probably preparing the first holidays for your child.
Yes. Yep. That would have been her second Christmas, but she would have been still a little too young.
But at two, you still do it, right?
Yeah, you still do it. And this year, we really finally got into the fact that we could use Santa against her. So that really is... It kicked it up a notch.
This is a fun topic. So anytime she's bad, you're actually mentioning the list?
Oh, yeah. We had several places where she could go to tell Santa that she's been good, which she would want to do. And then, obviously I would visit those places if she was being bad and be like, do you need me to tell Santa that, So anyway, we don't need to get into that. But
no, it's natural. It is the way. It is the way of the world. In fact, it was she was 5. Our kid was 5 when she came into the living room, and she actually said, "Is Santa real?" And to her credit, her mother said, "What do you think?" And she said, she might have been 6, and she said, "I think it's the parents." And my wife said, "I think you're really smart." And then the next day, I'm the stepfather. The next day, I should not share this publicly, but whatever. The next day, we got an angry phone call. because apparently we had said there's no Santa, and all we said was, "You figured it out. You deserve a prize." Yeah. It's like, guess what? Your kid's too smart for this shit. So somewhere around 6 or 7, they figure it out.
That's like an award to get an angry call like that. It's like saying, "Hey, look, my kid's too smart. Figured it out."
That's right, and he doesn't give 2 shits about indie film. He'll never listen to this. So, I should give his name, address, and social security number. That makes me sound really classy. All right, so wait. Yes. I mentioned Drawn.
Yes, Drawn.
And I mentioned Thank You for Staying.
Mm-hmm.
And I should mention support.com and you.
Yes.
Just for shits and giggles, because
that one is one of my favorites of all time. We made that a while ago, and I love that it's getting circulation again, because it was such a fun thing to put together. It's basically a human puppet hybrid. I don't know if you've ever seen Winnebago Man, but it was kind of a riff on that, with a puppet boss trying to create an employee orientation video, welcoming people into this environment. But it was just such a hostile outtakes, of this guy trying to make the orientation
Well, it was
video.
almost social commentary, right? About, here I am. I'm diving deep on support.com and you. It was almost like a generational thing, right? If I can indicate it, the old white guy who doesn't understand how the workplace is supposed to work anymore.
Exactly, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he just starts saying the wrong shit to people, and it's so funny.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was really fun to make, and that puppeteer Grant Boccaccio is just a marvel at improvisation. Like, puppet improvisation is not easy, because he's jammed underneath the table.
He's doing voice and puppetry.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of it was improv, or all of it was improv.
A lot of it, yeah. I mean, we had set out. Here's the goal, and here's we had script and stuff we wanted to cover, but
at some point turned to get her name wrong, say, "Who is that?"
Yeah.
That's actually one of my favorite moments, when he keeps calling the woman's name over and over,
Melissa.
and she never turns.
Yeah.
Melissa. And then he just goes, "Is her name Melissa?"
He's like, "No."
The whole thing is so funny.
Appreciate it.
And people can see that.
Yes, they can see that on Indie Channel, yeah.
It's on indiechannel.tv, which people can go to. And, that's a thing I started. And we'll see where it goes, but there will be something. And do you have it on your own website or anything? Or?
Yeah. I've got it on tyclancey.com. It's also on victorhousefilms.com.
So
it's out there.
That'll be a clickable link.
Absolutely. We're hoping to. I would love to. I've been brainstorming this kind of that puppet's name is Mr. Fess Parker in that.
That's right. I totally remember.
I still want to create a sort of a YouTube channel that's called Fix It with Fess Parker, and it's just him doing. When you look up like, oh, hey, how do I fix this thing? And you look up the model of it, and all of a sudden you got some random guy in his dining room telling you how to. Fix something, and I think that would be funny to try and revisit that whole outtakes, hostile outtakes through Fixing It with Fess Parker. But that puppet was made by Leslie Carrera Rudolph, who voices and puppets Abby Cadabby on Sesame Street, and she is just a dream to work with. She's a wonderful individual, lovely human being, and she made that puppet for us.
Right, so it wasn't an off-the-shelf puppet.
No. She made that specifically for Grant to puppeteer, and I had sent it back to her a couple years ago, and she turned Mr. Fess Parker into an old woman, I think. And so if I'm to pursue...
Oh, so she used the materials.
Yeah, she just, so he still exists. He just had a little change. Right. And but if I need to do Fix It with Fess Parker, I'm gonna need to get her to change them back.
You need a new one. It's funny. I could see him hosting his own podcast, his own video podcast. He'd be a more rude interviewer than Between Two Ferns.
Yes, Between Two Ferns,
he
or
could make
even
that look passive.
What's Martin Short's Jiminy
Glick.
He can get a little offensive, which is great.
I admit, I'm actually doing my best not to look at social media these days.
Yes, I agree.
Every time I see Martin Short as Jiminy Glick, little clip when that comes up in my feed. It is the funny. I did see the one where he ripped on Bill Hader. Oh, I'm talking to you. And he just puts him down like I expected a celebrity.
Yes.
So
he's so upset.
Mr. Fess Parker could be that.
He could do that.
Spades.
He could do that. I'll call Grant.
He's a multi-talented performer. Excellent. Well, so the last thing I saw was Drawn.
Mm-hmm.
But I am aware that you're a productive person who's working all the time.
I am. Done some things for other people. Did some stuff for FX's Alien Earth franchise that's coming out this summer, and some commercial work. But in terms of my output in shorts, I've been trying to get some features off the ground, obviously, as I always have.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a film like Drawn, I assume, was absolutely a calling card to show your ability to make a feature.
And we want and we still are pursuing turning that into a feature, moving from featurette into a feature. And it's just not an inexpensive project. There's a lot of vehicles. There's we had an amazing time making the short. I mean, it was I can't remember if I talked about it on the last podcast. Did I talk about making Drawn? Because I had just come off it. So I don't think
you might have mentioned that you were, but you probably said something. We were probably focused on.
Yes, you hadn't seen it.
Thank you for staying, and you probably were like, "Yeah, I've got another one. I'm in post on or something."
But we shot Drawn up in Simi Valley at the Big Sky Movie Ranch, and first day was just really gorgeous. We shot a lot of all the exterior driving and a lot of dirt roads up there, gorgeous, just dust everywhere in the sunlight, And then we moved on to the stuff up at the house, and it just started pouring rain to the point where we had to start to get four-wheel drive trucks just to get our crew from parking to...
Right, because it's dirt road in and out.
Yeah, and it was just, as beautiful as it was, it just became a total production suck. But my brother, Bo, Clancey is the producer, and he really pulled out all the stops to get us what we needed when we needed it. We moved we had cover sets inside, so we just moved all our cover sets. And, obviously in the film, there's a big burial scene. So that in wet soil is tough. We started the burial scene when it was dry. We started shooting it, and then it started raining on us, so we had to move inside that day. So we moved inside to a cover set, and the next day, still raining, and we had to shoot some exteriors that made it seem like it was raining. Now I'm like, okay, I have to get from wet outside to dry, and that's when I came up with the dream sequence when he comes back and he has that kind of crazy nightmarish dream sequence. I was like, I need to have some time pass, and if someone's dreaming, that time could be stretched or not as exact. And so we were lucky enough that final day I remember I came outside and the sun was out and like all the soil was baking and all this water was just drying up, and luckily we were able to get a shot, because I was like, I may have to rewrite how this whole thing ends if I can't get in the ground.
Yeah, it's funny. I haven't seen it for a year, but by memory, you covered.
I covered it
because I have no memory of wetness or rain.
Yeah.
I can picture a dry grave.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a shot of him coming up to the house after he's taken his captive, and it's raining in that, and that's sorry.
No worries.
But yeah. Anyway, it's obviously as the editor, as the filmmaker, exactly what everything looks like and what the conditions are at the time, and you're hyper aware of the edit that's going to occur. Whereas a viewer, especially a first-time viewer, isn't probably going to pick up on that. There's a lot of things obviously you can get away with in the edit room, but I wanted to, my movies a lot of times are for me, so I want to make sure that when I watch them, I don't cringe.
Super valid.
Because I'm going to be watching it a lot.
You're going to watch it the most, and you are. Yeah, that's the best reason to make one. Obviously, you made it as proof of concept and a lot of other reasons.
Yep.
But also, my assumption with everyone on this podcast is there was an idea for a film that was too good to not do.
Yeah.
Right? That's really what I assume, like everyone else, there's ideas and you're like, that could almost work. I'm not going to put X months of my life and X dollars into it. But then every once in a while, there's one it's like, this is too good to not. It's so good it must see the light of day.
Yeah,
I had to make it positive instead of doing a triple negative.
I had written it back in 2019. We had done some location scouting. Then COVID hit, and that all went out the door.
And COVID made you make the
thank you for
Arlo
staying
camera.
Yes, which was an incredible feat because I made my wife act in it, and she did a great job. But it was all security cameras, as you said. And I just, after that came out, I was like, this is great. I was really proud of it. But I was like, I need something, that shows that if I have the tools and the people, that I could make something that looks really good. And we brought in Stephen Tringali, the DP, and we were like, this has got to be a calling card. This has got to look great. And obviously off of the budget that we had,
you did the brilliant thing of going out to Simi Valley to a ranch because, not to blow smoke up your butt, but it's got that David Lean vibe of just a big, like a vista, a vista. It's amusing.
Wanted to take advantage of that beautiful area out there.
Yeah,
those beautiful locations, and you can't get that, around here. You got to go a little outside of town. And that house is made for filming. Like that's nobody lives in that house. Of course, there's no bathrooms in that house, so you got to go somewhere else. But all the ceilings come away, so you could light from. We didn't do that, but you can take the ceilings away because we were shooting a lot of low angles because we had that young girl. I said, let's just leave the ceilings where they are because we're going to see them a lot, and I want to see them because we're sort of seeing the world from her perspective, and so the camera's going to be low a lot, waist height. But yeah, that house was
because you're
gorgeous.
Right down there watching her draw.
Watching her draw, seeing the world from her perspective, and seeing what she's up to.
And so excellent experience, and then you took it out on the festival circuit and
had a great festival run.
Yeah.
We won at Sherman Oaks Film Festival. It was amazing. We are out there. We did a couple budgets for the feature. I actually had a couple writers, Carl Loricella and Adam Hebler, take my idea, and they fleshed it out. They made this brilliant feature version of Drawn that is, there's a little bit of like Memento in it. There's a little bit of, in terms of the timeline. There's a little bit of Duel, if you remember Duel, Spielberg's Duel, a lot of that in it. And it's just, I can't believe we can't get it made. But, we did a couple budgets for it, and we, it started out at like $7 million, and we're like, okay, we're never going to get that. And we just kept rewriting, trimming, and we got it down to like, 2, but still, that's
I know.
Who's giving out that money, And I thought that.
Although there are, I'm sure you had meetings and.
Yes, we've had meetings, but it's just, we're still at it, basically.
But it's the right genre.
Yes,
of sorts. Like the $2 million horror film has succeeded before.
Absolutely, and I think this one is also set up to be a series of movies. So, there is. I think a lot of upside to someone putting their money behind this. Do you hear me?
Well, I mean, I've heard there's a couple horror movies with sequels.
There's a couple.
As someone who lives with a teenager who, for like 3. Well, I mean, it's not exclusive, but she generally only wants to watch horror. She's like, I watch horror movies.
Great to hear. I mean, look. Comedy, I love comedy. That's where a lot of my professional stuff is. A lot of my solo work is in the thriller horror zone. I love comedy. I love doing comedy. However, it's just if you're not plugged into that, that TV world or that film world, it's tough to convince people that you could sell it, all over the world because it's comedy. Versus horror and thriller is, you know, you don't have to have a big name, you don't have to have really fancy, you know, cinematography or mise en scène or anything like that. It's just got to be scary. People will tune in and they'll want to see more of it.
And it's a global.
Yes.
We are interconnected more than ever globally, and scary shit is universal.
Yes, and I
right?
think people
Whereas
like
comedy is often so verbal.
No, yeah, absolutely. It even can be regional. You know, what people like on the East Coast may not be so funny on the West Coast, and so you know, but everyone can be scared, and I think that everyone likes the safe place to feel fearful. You know, I think that we as as animals our brains are wired to accept a lot of fear in our lives, and we've kind of made our lives very safe, right? And so I think a little chemical hit of fear is good for you to just kind of work out all the bad stuff you got going on in your life. You can just sort of be scared for a second and then come back to be like, oh, my life isn't so bad. I'm not getting chased by a hooded, masked crazy person. You know.
I mean, I know there's papers about this. I know I every once in a while you read an article about the people who watch horror films are actually like more emotionally healthy.
Yes.
Because we were prey animals. We were scavengers. we think of ourselves as hunter gatherers, but no, there's a lot of shit out there that could kill us for. We've been safe for like 5 minutes or something.
Yeah. And our brains are like, this isn't right.
Yeah.
This isn't right.
In fact, heck, as a parent, like, your kid comes to you and it's like, she actually did ask, like, where does anxiety come from? And I actually had to say, like, well, anxiety kept us alive when we were hunter-gatherers for,
Kept
a
us
million
alert.
years.
Yeah.
And then for the last couple hundred years, we went agrarian. And then honestly, like, human beings have been safe really since, like, post-World War II.
Yeah.
Like, up through World War II,
it still wasn't.
Most generations died of something, pretty early. So I was like, anxiety kept us safe because if you were worried what was behind that tree, it might have been a tiger.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas, like, we're really safe now. We have no idea what to do with our instinct to protect ourselves.
Yeah. Stephen King has a great book called Danse Macabre or Danse Macabre. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce macabre. Macabre? So that's what it is. It's called Danse Macabre, and it's basically about the idea of writing about horror and why audiences love it. And it's a great breakdown, from the master himself. And
how cool that he'll look at it at that level, because you sometimes you hear people like, oh, I don't think about it, I just do it. But yeah, very cool.
Oh, he gets into it. I love reading his. He's also got one called On Writing, and he's a great. I don't know, the way he puts his words are just, they speak to me, and especially that Danse Macabre was a really great fundamental psychological breakdown of why an audience craves scary stuff and how to make things scarier.
I'm going to ask you for some advice.
All right.
Is that a good book to, like, get the kid, a 17-year-old who likes horror?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that might rope her in. Needless to say, it's not easy to get young people to
read. Yes.
To read instead of look at social media.
Yeah. It's a scholarly text. It's not a narrative text.
Yeah, exactly.
Means, you know what I mean? But if they're into it and they want to know a bit more of why they like it so much, I think that's what it's about.
I think it's pretty cool because, you do like, it's just fun to get a little meta and think about why you like what you like.
Well, I think it helps also, I think with someone, anytime that there's a more literature about, a topic that you like, especially something that breaks down, I love psychological reviews, and I love, I was a psych minor, and I just like the idea of what makes us tick, because our brains are so crazy when you think about, all these chemical and electrical reactions are just creating this, person who's speaking these words. I mean, it's very I don't want to get too deep into that. You know?
Feel free. I'm about to.
It's noon on a
I'm
Friday.
about to push you in that direction by just saying that I have met so many people who are creatives and who do write, who also majored or minored in psychology. And the truth is, sometimes I joke. I'm like, I think a psych degree is more useful to a writer than a creative writing degree because it gets you into what motivates and how the mind and how all your you're thinking about what your characters might be thinking.
Yeah.
And that I think is better writing than if someone just,
You can create more human characters, more characters
Yeah.
that are more relatable, which I think is...
You just naturally think about people's motivations and how their brain works. There you go. That's why Mr. Fess Parker is the way he is, because you've thought about the psychology
I did.
of how much would you have to front if you were 2 feet tall,
right?
in the workplace and the
Hardcore
boss?
mini Napoleon complex.
I never thought of that before, but well, that's very cool. And so besides that feature, well, you mentioned commercials and stuff. I have a funny question for you, which is, can you show people that work for your filmmaking work, or did you really need something like drawn? Because you can show people commercials and they'd be like, oh, we can make, but did you really need to make a drawn so that they could see like, wow, you can make a fully cinematic, Hollywood caliber film?
I definitely felt like I needed to make drawn because my commercial work, first of all, is very light and fun and comedic, and situational, and it just wouldn't translate. I made a show back in 2014. It's called Cryptid: The Swamp Beast for History Channel. I hated the title, but they used a colon. Anyway, I was very proud of the show, and it was a horror piece, and I was able to use that for a while. But then it just kind of got to the point where I was like, all right, it's been a long time, and you start to see. It's funny, you start to see your work over time on your reels. Your aspect ratio changes, and the quality changes. Oh, it kind of needs to be 4K, or at least not 960 by 540, and so. I did feel like I needed to get out, especially after Thank You for Staying. Thank You for Staying I was really proud of it, but it was like I can't show that to somebody and expect them to give me a lot of money.
Give someone the impression that you're a guerrilla filmmaker.
Yes, exactly.
And you're the furthest from that.
Right. I mean, I can do both, and I may get back into guerrilla filmmaking, but I needed to show that within that tone, within that darker atmosphere, I can make something that's really compelling and very cinematic, and that draws you in. And that looks good, and so that's why I felt I needed to make it. But yeah, commercial work wasn't gonna get me the work that I was striving for in terms of any kind of longer form, darker material.
Understood, man. You have me thinking about. Well, I don't know if I shared this. Maybe it was 2023, but we had this podcast gave birth to that series on Amazon.
Yeah, the Discover
Indie Film. And then they have every right to protect their servers, and they made us start to charge instead of being free. When we were free included with Prime, the viewership was growing like crazy. And then when you have to charge, boom, it's gone. But when that happened, I did get put in touch with someone got me, a friend who's in distribution got me in with Tubi, and I was talking to Tubi, and they literally said, oh man, we love the idea of a shorts anthology. Is it mostly horror? And I was like, out of 150 films, there's 3 horror films. And they're like, oh yeah, not interested. And
Tubi.
And you have me thinking drawn is so, I know horror does have somewhere to go. And I know that there's, platforms that would take drawn actually, and you might even get something back for it. But I'm like, man, maybe there should just be a horror-focused series of featurettes. You know what I mean? Like it could just be the modern version of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, but they wouldn't have to be all made by the same people.
Right.
Because there's I see a lot of really good horror now.
I think so too. And I mean, I think, with anthology series like Twilight Zone coming back, and I'm not sure if it's still back, but
I know, and they fucked it by putting it on CBS,
right?
Which
Paramount,
became Paramount Plus,
CBS Plus.
It's always on a platform that I can't watch.
Exactly. But Black Mirror does it really well. I have a series of shorts that if I could, I mean, and Thank You for Staying and Drawn are part of that series, but I had written a series of shorts that I just sort of, top lined as Bad Guy Wins.
That's a really good title.
And I was like, and I thought that would be a really good anthology, episodic thing that, and maybe it's just a bunch of short films that just are strung together that have the same idea that the bad guy wins. And so, a lot of, I have probably 4 or 5 other short ideas. They're just, they just take money to make. And so
it's time and money.
And so, Drawn was not cheap to make, and, and we're trying to see what we can get out of it. But, now I'm kind of back to, all right, what can I guerrilla film make next? I have an idea that's sort of taking what Thank You for Staying was, blowing it up into a bigger project, but it's using the same kind of tools, same sort of inexpensive, real lo-fi idea. But if I can make the story and the characters relatable, then I think that it could have some legs.
Hell yeah!
And I'm just gonna go for the feature because I can't make another. I mean, I love making shorts. Shorts are fun to make, but I'm just to the point in my career where I probably will make life, right? I will make more shorts. There's no doubt about that. But I need to make a feature because so often people are just, oh, he's a first time feature, and it's hard to get over that.
Yeah, and if you are designing an idea from page one, you're initiating it with the idea of using phones as cameras and other things that not only cut the budget but that you use creative solutions add to it. Mm-hmm. Then there's why not just go? Plus, streaming has changed the demands of length such that if you're like 67 minutes,
completely,
you can call it a feature now.
Yes, absolutely.
And they won't hesitate to stream it. Whereas, just 5 to 10 years ago, a script, under 90 was totally uncommercial. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now you see a 4-hour movie next to a 67-minute movie. So why make a 17-minute
film guerrilla style, when you could, it's not that much more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
especially when you're talking about
film costs and this and that.
Especially when you're talking about a really inexpensive, production team, that's then you can go and also because there's not going to be a ton of crew members, I feel like I can just go and do it myself, and just whenever the performers are available, I can go shoot it. I don't need to have a big. Obviously, there's going to be elements that we will have crew and we will have things to schedule and all that stuff. But at least getting it off the ground, getting movement on it, I can. As soon as I find the performer, I can.
But especially in that, and if you're in the horror genre, it's look. I love the horror shorts, but I get it. If you're going to put in the effort. Mm-hmm. It's not a 75-minute film is not just. It's not 5 times harder than a 15.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's once twice as hard.
Yeah. I mean, maybe 3 times, twice,
maybe
3
times, but
even, once you got it rolling,
wise.
Yeah. Once you get it rolling, I feel like then you're, and that's the trick is because I've spent so much time in the financing side of it. I think my brother was telling me William Friedkin was he's like, oh, I love everything about film. Financing is the worst, and that's William Friedkin. He can't get financing, couldn't. But it's so I'm kind of to the point where I'm like, what can I just go shoot myself without convincing a bunch of people that I need to,
And I'm a big fan, and I actually said this on the podcast I recorded earlier this week because it was a young man who made a feature on weekends.
Okay. Yeah.
So instead of shooting for 24 days in a row with 3 days off in the middle, they did do the Friday to Monday thing
Warrior,
for I'm forgetting, but I think they ended up doing it so that it added up. I think they did it 8 times.
Okay, yeah.
8 weekends. And every time I see a film that was made that way, at the festival level especially, it's better. Because you have that time. you have really Monday through Friday to think about how the weekend went. Do some rewrites.
Sometimes
you understand your actors better. You can and
put some things together. Realize, oh, you know what? We need to fill this story hole. That if you would have been, sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment on a 3, 4, 5 day shoot in a row, you're gonna possibly leave something out. And by doing it 2 days in a row, or 2 days, 5 day break, you can.
And if actors show you something surprisingly good, and you are shooting 6 days in a row for 12 hours a day, you can't do that much on the fly.
You can't be flexible and say, you know what, maybe that is a great idea. It's like, no, we have to be a little bit more rigid because this is the vision and we can't deviate from that. But
yeah, so I'm a big fan of the Weekender film, honestly.
I think that's what this one's going to be, is a Weekender film.
I know you implied that. So I am doing my best to encourage that.
Thank you.
And then, and I don't have to tell you about, there is a nice little history of micro-budget horror that sails over the top of everything.
If you can hit it with one of those, sub $100,000 budgets and it goes to the moon,
then they do end up with how many Paranormal Activities are there?
Exactly. Then you end up with Saw 10.
I haven't seen Saw. That's
any of them?
It's on my list. I know I have. I missed out on it. I can't believe I haven't, considering all the horror I watched with a kid. But
talk about a great. I was just thinking about him. I feel like earlier today, Lee Whannell. I think he wrote. I don't know if he directed Saw, but he definitely wrote Saw. I think maybe he also directed. But anyway, he's doing all the new Universal monster stuff for Blumhouse. Like he did The Invisible Man, which I really loved, and I think he's got Wolfman's coming out this fall or something. But that's a great story of like super cheap idea, hit it big, and he went on to make some great stuff, and now he's helming the Universal Monster franchise. I mean, it's like loving superheroes and going and doing Superman or something like that. It's just
for sure. I mean, it's we're actually in a weird time because I'm not a huge fan of beating IP to death.
Sure, yeah.
But when they turn it over to a genuine fan, like, even what Jon Favreau did with Mandalorian.
Yeah, Mandalorian, yeah.
And it's just finally it's done the right way because the people who created the shit actually aren't in touch with it as much as someone who grew up on it. And what's his name? Feige?
Feige. Kevin
Feige. I mean, honestly, I was so over superhero movies, and he sucked me back into it because finally someone was giving a shit. Like, because they don't give a shit about their stuff. But then, right, no one at Universal gave a shit about making a quality horror film.
I mean, they were doing.
But then you take a real fan,
and
say reboot these franchises, and a real fan will be like, "Oh, I'll do that, and I'll do it in the way that I want to see it," which is how all the other fans want to see it.
And they end up being quite different from their predecessors. The Invisible Man that Lee Whannell did was very different from all the other Invisible Man versions I've seen. And it was more of a domestic violence movie, and it was really well done. And I'm just excited to see what he does with the rest of it. But that's the goal. That's the goal. Give me some Universal Monster franchise movies.
Also, isn't a lot of this shit public domain? Some of it starts to be. Because I know Nosferatu, the original, became public domain. So that makes me wonder if this new version that came out literally got started the day after it became public domain.
I feel like Universal's probably been keeping up on. I mean, at what point can a brand keep? I mean, I don't know.
I know there's tricks that the lawyers can pull.
Yeah.
But if Steamboat Willie hit public domain, I would assume Disney's lawyers.
But like, is Mickey Mouse in 20 years going to all of a sudden become public domain?
I don't think so. Just the actual versions that those earlier versions become. But it's not like Mickey Mouse himself. I don't know.
This is the Hollywood Legal Minute.
You know, it's funny. I have friends. I have some friends who went into that shit.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, I'm like, "Can I ask you something?" And it's just kind of like, "Sorry, I don't have $500 an hour." God damn, the people who went to law school were smart.
Well, I had to replace the song in Drawn. There was I used a song by Connie Francis called "My Happiness," and we paid the festival license and we're very happy with it. But when it came time to distribution, we had to find something different. And I was looking into some public domain songs, and you'd think there would be a better resource for being able to say, like, what are some stuff I can just use? It's kind of hard. You can go to like the copyright office. There's a couple anyway. I didn't find what I needed, and luckily I came into a music supervisor who helped me find basically a stock song that would work really well, that was within our budget, and so.
Gotcha. Yeah. Because the other thing is, I know it's this. This probably would not have worked for you, but I've honestly found I've had to do that for some people. Mm-hmm. Well, with that series, with the Discovery Indie Film series, sometimes, I know every time I hear the words festival license, I think not a license.
Yeah, exactly. It's a license to show it.
But, by the way, I did that in the 90s. And we all want that.
Of course.
And when you get that letter, well, back then it was a letter. When you get that letter from your favorite band that you can use their song for free as long as it's not commercial, like, oh, well, it'll never be commercial. And then like, oh yeah, YouTube's commercial, I guess. Mm-hmm. I can't use that unless. I actually found, like, if I just went into GarageBand and used the free loop samples on there to make your own song, you could almost get most vibes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's all free.
That is, yeah. I like a good GarageBand little mix-up.
It's funny. I'm like, hey, I have no musical talent at all. But apparently I can clip shit together and get what I want.
As long as you have rhythm and somewhat of an ear. I think those programs make it pretty
easy. This podcast, from its beginning in 2017, a little bit of music at the beginning and end in the background.
Did you create that in GarageBand?
I pulled that out of my own ass in GarageBand.
Composed by Jeff
I pulled the beat, then I pulled the bass line, then I put like 4 or 5 things together. In fact, I could even come, because we're recording GarageBand right now. Panorama synth pad. Brooklyn noir swing bass.
Oh.
Perplexing beat 07.
Perplexing?
And Spotlight beat. I know. I wonder which one. But I shoved the shit together and I'm like, this sounds good.
Pretty good.
I know. Go figure. But it's not like a full song.
Yeah. Full song would be a different animal.
It's not like I was like, okay, now here
you
comes
need stings.
Bridge
you can do
and
stings
chorus.
And bridge. Yeah. Sings and bridges really nicely.
Yeah.
Works well.
Well, anyway, but if you ever need it, I recommend wasting an afternoon in GarageBand and having fun with it. But yeah, so you pulled the song. So you're getting ready to get it somewhere.
Yeah. We've signed a deal with a place in London to get it out there. We had to kind of wait for all the new licenses to get drawn up and all that stuff.
Yeah, because I feel like if Drawn was on Tubi, I bet people would watch it.
I mean, it's interesting. Tubi's been the one network, or I don't know what you call them, studio platform.
AVOD platform, yeah.
AVOD platform that I feel is like being very bullish right now, whereas everyone else is kind of, I don't know, pulling back a little bit. Tubi's most producers that have been saying, hey, what do you got? We've got this thing. I hear a lot of, Tubi's looking for this or that, especially in the horror space, And they're putting out some really interesting super low budget horror that, I don't know, I quite enjoy. I think there's one called Artifice Girl. I'm not sure if you heard me when I said that earlier. I think it was on Tubi. But very interesting, existential. I wouldn't call it a horror by any means, but it's probably more sci-fi, kind of about AI and sort of its role in but it was shot over 3 rooms, just really shot in 3 different rooms, and I was really really excited with what they had done with it.
Very cool. Yeah, it's funny. I don't watch that much. Somehow, I know it's sad to talk about AVOD platforms and how they're taking over, but somehow Pluto TV has really become like a big part of my viewing now.
Really?
Yeah.
It's free, right?
It's
Pluto
free.
TV? Yeah.
It's ad.
You watch the ads, yeah.
It's ad supported and it's sort of interesting, but it's owned by Viacom, so like all the old Comedy Central shit's on there.
Okay.
So my wife and I are re-binging Key and Peele.
Nice.
And that's where you watch it.
Hey, it's got you. It's doing its job, which is
it's doing its job,
yeah.
and I'm going to their library. They got that Viacom library, which is
that's a big library.
extensive. But the other sweet thing on there is my man Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, yes.
Has his Star
Talk
video
really
podcast, and that has its own channel on Pluto.
I love that. I love Star Talk.
Isn't it the greatest?
Yeah.
So I watch it every night while my wife is busy doing something. While I'm waiting on her.
Okay.
And I'm done watching submissions. Mm-hmm. I'm watching Neil deGrasse Tyson make me smarter.
Is it nightly?
It's a 24-hour channel.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
So
gotcha.
it's all older stuff.
Okay.
In fact, I don't even know when they add new stuff. But
they'll just drop a bunch of episodes and
it's just
I feel like there's
random.
The podcast is, or at least a video podcast, I guess, right? But
it's so funny. Podcasting was because there was a thing called an iPod.
Right.
And now
that thing's gone.
They added video to it and they're calling it a podcast with video. And I'm like, isn't that a fucking talk show? This is a talk show.
Yeah.
And people have said to me, like, shouldn't you do video with Discover Indie Film? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm an old guy. I'm not sure I want to be on video.
It's a whole different animal, too. I mean, you'd have to have lights and cameras and a whole different...
And edit.
A bunch of more tracks that could disappear.
Honestly, the funny thing is, actually, I think it was COVID made all that happen, right? And because when you use Zoom, I admit, like when I record on Zoom a Q&A for a festival for like a filmmaker in Europe or something, I'll just toggle between like the group view and then speaker view, and that's like directing it in a way to like multiple faces, one face, multiple faces, one face. And basically, it's, if I'm talking, it's multiple, and if they're talking, it's just them. And I'm like, God, that could be a video podcast.
Absolutely.
But I don't know. I like talking to people in person. Isn't this better than if we were on Zoom?
It is better, yeah.
Yeah, so
that's why I made the effort.
I appreciate the effort.
You know, I didn't want to just get on Zoom with you. I got to be in the same room. Feel the energy.
That's right. We're hanging. Well, so besides all that, are you balancing your life? Are you able to write more now that you've got the little one for a couple years?
Yeah, it's certainly the first year or two was rough. There wasn't a lot of sleep, and the energy level was tough to go do stuff that people aren't paying you to do.
Because you have the stuff you get paid to do, and then all the rest of life, and then
your passion projects,
and then the stuff you're passionate about. It's hard to be passionate if you're on 3 hours of sleep.
Yes, exactly. And so I feel like I've gotten out of that, and now I'm certainly developing a lot more. I find late at night is really my time to shine with that stuff. Is if I can find a few hours between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. where there's just nothing going on, nobody's emailing me about any work stuff or the kids asleep, I can just really focus in on what needs to be done, and little steps here and there. But I have found that I'm starting to find my footing a little bit more, from where it was right before the kid. It's just like I can work whenever I feel like it, and have all the energy in the world.
Yeah, and you could burn the midnight oil, and
yeah, exactly, and not suffer the consequences the next day. But I still find burning the midnight oil is is not just necessary for me, but also it's just when my mind is the most vibrant. I'm not thinking about anything else. There's no errands I need to run. It's just I can't do anything else. It's like either this or you go to sleep. So you might as well do this.
I was always like that too. We have that in common. Yeah. I was always, even in college, I was like most productive. Everyone else went to sleep, and I'd sit on the couch in the living room and like with a pad and write. For some reason, I know when I hear about those, TV writer types who or the kind of writer. I bet Stephen King's like that. I bet he gets up at 8 a.m.
Yeah,
makes his coffee,
have their schedule.
And then he sits down and starts typing. And I'm like, man, first thing in the morning, I'm checking. Once you look at your inbox, you're done, right?
Yeah. I mean, I wish if I was being paid to write something, I feel like I could schedule it pretty nicely, during the daytime and not be so crazy working all night. Although I probably would still work at night. But it's just the fact that it's like when it's a passion project and you just, it's the only time I don't feel guilty about or not guilty about working on it,
Right, you're just depriving yourself of sleep.
Yes.
But you're not depriving yourself of income.
Yes.
And you're not depriving your daughter
family
of
time.
dad time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're not depriving your wife of having a partner who's awake and able to like maybe make breakfast or drive to the store.
Yeah, exactly. So, it is for me. It's a special time. That middle of the night time for me to get work done.
I shouldn't ask you this, but I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
If someone had like said yes and given you that $2 million budget, did you in that budget? Did you give yourself enough to like stop everything else long enough and pay yourself to? I
mean, certainly, certainly we had money.
Choice, right?
Yeah, it's a tough choice, and I certainly was like, look, just give me the minimum that I need, and we could defer the rest or even whatever. I don't care. But certainly there was money in there for me to make it worth my while for sure. But.
I mean, there has to be because you can't keep working.
Get
that done.
Exactly, and also we would have probably had to go somewhere like a state with an incentive, or maybe Canada. We were looking at Calgary has a really really great incentive, and the dollar is really strong up there. So it was going to be a travel there and be there for a while. So you can't do other work while you're doing that.
No, yeah. It's just I had to ask, or I was curious to ask because I know too many people who sometimes short themselves.
Absolutely, just to get it done. It's like, well, if I just make this for nothing, then it'll get my next job, and you can't depend on that a lot of times. I mean, look, I appreciate the enthusiasm and the optimism about the project, but you have to look. There are definitely projects that you should not expect to pay yourself for just because they're either small enough, like a short film, or, I'm not going to go try and get myself paid on a short film. But something that's going to take up a decent amount of your time that you can't be a weekend warrior on, and you have to travel somewhere and be away from your family for 3 weeks, then you have to make it at least worth some while.
For sure. Another appealing thing about the weekend warrior. But honestly, I see no drawbacks to it because, like I said, everything I see that's the weekend thing, the quality goes up. That's the key.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually just up in Lake Arrowhead 2 nights ago, and I was testing out some different cameras and like low light cameras and cameras that have night vision and stuff, and I was just out there, kind of what I was doing on Thank You for Staying. I was just running around my house with a mask on, and my wife slept upstairs. And I was doing that again, and it was really fun. It was, there's something to that no budget, just getting out there and making it yourself that, takes me back to my roots of what I did when I was a kid. It's funny. We were out and we decamped because of the fires and went to the desert, and there was a group of young kids who were, ages 8 to 14, and they made movies. They like made little short mysteries and little short, horrors, and they edited them together that day on this thing called CapCut. I've never used that, but it's like little single track. I mean, we shot it. They showed it to us that night, straight out of like Steven Soderbergh's workbook, and it was really fun. It was fun to watch them debate.
So these are the kids in the family?
These are the kids in the family, yeah. These are my nieces and nephews. And you know, my daughter, who's 2.5, she appeared in one of them as the mafia boss. And as she turned the chair around, they played The Godfather too. And I was like, oh, wow, good for you. That's really good.
It's a good moment.
And so it was fun to watch them make it and to like debate each other and get angry about, they felt really strongly about something.
Oh, they were fighting.
About the writing, about what was going to happen in the story. And it was just fun to see them play. It's because that's play. And I don't know, I'm getting back to, on that Weekend Warrior thing. It's like, if you can just go out and just play and do what you enjoy. And also, you can get enough footage that you can, if you're a good editor, you can make it compelling and so anyway, I've got nostalgic there for a second.
That ties us back. That's practically a callback to support.com and you, right? Because that was play. That day felt like play.
Oh, that was absolute play. We put that together as a pitch document for a show we were trying to sell. But I mean, that was a day of play for sure, because I was the cinematographer, I was the sound, I was the lighting unit, like I was doing everything. That was a no budget day, but it was so much fun.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen that people will be able to. Well, I don't know. I think it's gonna. I was about to be all positive about the future, and that like you really would. I mean, these tools just keep getting better.
They do keep getting better. They keep getting more accessible to people, which I think is great. I think the hard thing for anybody in the future is that because as things get more accessible, more folks are in the game with you. So rising to the top becomes even harder. But you just have to work that much harder to be undeniable and create stuff that's worth rising to the top.
Yeah, the distribution or the finding an audience side is always going to be tough. Mm-hmm. And Lord knows that is why. I mean, we talked about YouTube being the number one AVOD platform in the world, but at the same time, YouTube is I can't navigate it. Like if you type in short horror film,
right? Yeah.
You're as likely to see something made by someone with a brain injury that makes no sense, but is bad, not good bad.
Yeah.
As something great. Like there's no filter.
Yeah, there is no filter. Yeah. And it's hard to, it's like if I turn on a certain app or I go to a certain category, it's going to filter it for me, right? And with whatever content they have. But yeah, YouTube's is kind of just this wild west of.
The one thing you can't filter for is quality.
Yes.
Right? You can't say, but I want to see the good ones. Mm-hmm. And you can't even do it. I don't know. Can you sort by likes or whatever? But
I don't
you can't even
can.
trust the likes.
No.
Like you can't say I wanted. YouTube would never let everyone rate everything 1 to 10, and then you could sort from best to worst, like on Yelp.
Yeah, but you're just going to get some farm out there to give your content 10 stars. It's just like it's all manipulable.
You can't trust. Hey, I know we can't trust anything. I know,
except the companies that have a bottom line.
Just on, I know there's the curation of content is so important, and it feels.
That's why I like being a good film festival director. It's like that's your whole job.
I know, and I'm addicted to curation.
Yeah,
and I keep thinking curation.
And that's why I think that you have a curative mind in terms of like I see all this good stuff. There needs to be grander platforms out there to showcase this stuff.
I mean, it happens to me.
Short.
Every festival, somebody's parents come to see their short film, and they see the other films in that block, and then they say to me in the lobby, "I had no idea this stuff was better than anything I've seen lately." I don't lie. There's a lot of people over 40, I'll just say, who have given up on the movies, right? A lot of people have given up on the movies because they're not very good.
Well, yes. Well, there's a lot of derivative stuff out there, I think.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like...
I mean, there's breakthroughs, like,
There's
I guess The
absolutely
Substance
breakthroughs.
is a breakthrough. But,
Yeah.
But there's not,
But I just don't think people, are attracted to the movies like they used to because, I don't know, there's just as good material now on the streaming platforms. But like, I think that attention spans have been modified. I think that there's like, I personally would rather jump into a 90-minute movie, have my ups and downs, watch a character pull through, and have a satisfying conclusion, move on with my day. But so many people want these TV shows where it's like, you can get lost in them, but you just have to spend so much time with them. I mean, I think I was watching a Tarantino interview, and he was just like, I can remember what happens in a movie. In a TV show, I can't really remember I sort of know the tone of it and the mood of it, but like plot-wise, what happened? No, I don't really... I can't remember it because a movie makes you, I think, embed what happens because you see this journey in a contained time period. It's a ride that you're on. You step on the ride, you take it, you step off feeling different, and that's the movies. And I don't know, people just don't.
I know, I can't understand, even in myself, why am I so willing to watch that show Slow Horses with Gary Oldman, one of the best things I've seen in a long time. We binged it late last year we binged it. And I'm like, oh my God, every episode is like a movie. This is the best thing I've ever seen, blah, blah, blah. Why am I more likely to watch 4 6 to 8 episode seasons of a show, but I haven't watched Gary Oldman's last movie.
Right.
Like, why? What's going on? Like, do we need movies to be? Do I need 3 40-minute episodes instead of 120?
Well, some of these movies
movie?
should be 3 40-minute episodes. I mean, The Brutalist is over 3 hours long. That's the other thing I think that's vexing people is that, give me a good 90-minute. 2 hour, fine. But as soon as you get over 2 hours and 10 minutes, it's like, all right, where's your editor? Come on, we don't need to do this. That's my feeling on that.
We got to make fun of Scorsese now.
Yeah.
But because every movie, but it is a weird world right now.
Yeah, I feel like, a bit like you were talking with like the 67-minute things, like streaming allows for this sort of pantheon of time durations, that I think prior the movie theaters wanted you to get in and get out, right? It's like, no, we have a block, and we need to program that block, and we need people to leave the seats, and then we need more people to come in. And so I think that it was desirable to be 90 minutes, 2 hours, and now it's just like, the streamers, like, they just want minutes. They just want content. So why wouldn't they?
Yeah, they don't even care. They're taking up server
like, oh my God, you have a 4-hour movie? We love it.
Yeah, they don't care. As long as there's prestige, people are like, oh, well, if I don't have a Netflix subscription, I can't watch the next film by X movie star. Although we're almost done with movie stars.
That's a really interesting thing too. That you think about like the Chalamets out there, like who might be the last of the movie stars.
I still think it's Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise is the last of the movie star?
I think he's the last because. That's just my hunch.
I don't know. I mean, you've got your Brad Pitts and you've got your Robert Pattinsons. I mean, those are heartthrobs and stuff like that. But like,
they're heartthrobs. But like, Brad Pitt can be in a bomb. Well, Tom Cruise can be in a bomb though now.
Can be in a bomb, but
you know what I mean? Like, I know the Chalamet kid is huge.
Yeah.
But
he's not a TV guy. You know what I mean? Like he's only in movies.
But I mean, people went to see Dune with or without him, right?
True. Yeah.
And people would see the Bob Dylan movie.
Yeah, he's not. I wouldn't say he's a name that draws people in yet. However, he's in the movies that are getting the big draws.
Yeah, it's so interesting because the math used to be in the '80s, if you give half your budget to a Hollywood star, it would pay off. And like, I don't think that's the case anymore.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I heard a rumor once, and if you saw John Cusack in a bunch of indie films in the 90s, apparently, if you paid John $1 million to be in your movie, he was the biggest star in China.
Oh, really? So you just sell
Someone
it
in
over there?
distribution said, like, if you can get John Cusack, you can get into the Chinese market. So people would make a $1.5 million film and give him $1 million to work for one weekend.
Fantastic.
And then make the rest of the movie for shit and then like make money on it in China, apparently. I don't know. Could be a lie, but I was told that once.
I love it.
But I will preface it with, could be a lie. But yeah, there could be. Yeah, but it used to be. It used to be you had to ride a star vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I mean, I do think that there's room now for unknowns to just come out and be in a great movie. Like there's that movie, I think it's called It's What's Inside on Netflix. Did you see that? It's a great low budget movie.
I should add that to my list.
Yeah, sci-fi, kind of sci-fi-ish. It's just about, 8 kids meeting up in this mansion for a night. But it's really great, really well done. Nobody in that movie I could tell you who they are or I've ever seen them in anything else. But, it allows for, but Netflix picked it up and hopefully those kids will be big. And
interesting. They picked one up. That's nice.
Yeah, they've been pushing it pretty well too. It's well made. I mean, they did a great job with it. It's What's Inside, is what it's called.
It's What's Inside. Okay, I added it to my list of things to watch because Lord knows.
Yeah.
Obviously, if I'm binging Key and Peele again.
Yeah, you're missing out on Star Talk. You're not watching. Well, you're watching enough short films. You're watching.
Yeah, I'm watching. That's true. I am less in touch because the film festivals have grown so much.
Yeah.
I actually do kind of have to watch it year round now. It's I used to get a nice 2-3 months off between festivals.
Now?
Being everything. Now it's like, knock on wood.
Yeah, no kidding. It's a good problem to have.
Film Invasion always lagged a little bit. Well, Sherman Oaks got a little bigger than Film Invasion Los Angeles, and now it's like getting as many submissions.
Really? Film Invasion is?
Yeah, so now I'm like watching most nights. Well, we'll go in the little TV room in our house, and I have this laptop we're recording moves in there,
nice.
And then HDMI cable plugs into it, and then we watch, an hour or two submissions, and then we go in the bedroom and watch whatever our friends have told us to binge.
Yeah.
It's very sad. Never away from a screen.
I know. Well, that's our life. That's,
I will share this. Because I've backed off of social media, it hasn't happened yet. But I find myself, now that I basically, when my thumb goes to open the Facebook or Instagram app,
it's like a twitch.
I stop.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that this week. And my brain is like, read a book. The sad thing is now I'm going to reach for the Kindle. But
another screen.
But another screen, but a different kind of screen, right? And no internet on it. So, because I have the version with no internet. So it's like, I might be able to claim that because I really miss reading.
Yeah.
But I can't make myself do it.
I know, it's hard. And it's funny, but I moved my apps around so that, because my thumb goes to where, that social media app is so crazy that like I see my thumb doing it. But I've been reading this good book called Pictures at a Revolution, I think is what it's called. It's about I think it's 1968 was the year. During the Oscars, it was The Graduate, Look Who's Coming to Dinner, In the Heat of the Night.
2001?
No, not 2001.
I thought that was the same year as Graduate.
And what was the Nutty Professor or something like that? Or it was I can't remember what the other movie was, but anyway, it was about sort of that time when Hollywood said when the whole studio system kind of broke in the 60s, and you saw a lot of that independent cinema come out of the 70s, and I'm sort of seeing, I don't know, there's some similarities to people are saying that the movies are broken, and back then that they were saying the same thing. There's a lot of derivative stuff. There's a lot of just like they were making the same thing over and over and over again. And you had these young, well, not necessarily young, but these filmmakers who were just like The Graduate. Wait, was it The Graduate?
There was The Graduate. There was Easy Rider.
Easy Rider, yeah.
Easy Rider really broke things open by making a ton of money.
Oh, Bonnie and Clyde was the other one.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Bonnie and Clyde. The guys who wrote Bonnie and Clyde were a couple magazine editors who had no idea what they were trying to do, and wrote something that was so out of the box, because the Hays Code, you couldn't show a lot of the stuff that Bonnie and Clyde showed, and they were like, no, we'll write it because we don't know that you can't show that. They didn't know, and so you saw a lot of things break down and new things blossoming out of that, and I really feel like we're in that same kind of time that, the industry as we know it, streaming, how things kind of came out of COVID and everything like that. We're entering a different time, and I'm sort of looking back at that time as a way to say, all right, what were things done? What were the mindsets that sort of let this new Hollywood emerge?
And you're going to be part of it.
That's right.
You're gonna. It is interesting, yeah, because no one knows. No one knows,
mm-hmm.
and the corporate giants who are just like, well, let's just consolidate and buy, as many streaming platforms, or just basically every. I don't know. It's just going back to cable. It's going back to network, right?
Yeah.
It's going back to three sources.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
Because Disney bought most of the world.
Most of Fox and FX and all that.
And then Time Warner combined with Discovery. And now
that's Max.
Discovery became Max.
Yeah. Which has all the from HBO to HGTV.
And Netflix went from being the edgy upstart. I remember
mm-hmm.
when my lady and I first became an item, Netflix was full of indie stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And now Netflix is just another network. It's like a TV network.
It is, yeah.
Like it's reality shows and predictable shit I've seen before.
Yep. I didn't want to admit it, but maybe it's my wife has been doing this, the algorithm, but all I get shown on Netflix is just reality shows. At least like what's suggested to
Isn't
me.
it crazy?
I'm like, what is this? But they're cheap to make, and people lap them up.
Yeah. So we went from CBS, NBC, ABC, well, and then Fox.
Yeah.
And then, of course, some others tried.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're just going to end up,
back with
every night you sit down and you're like, am I going to watch
mm-hmm.
Netflix, Max, or
when I cut
the Disney World?
Cut the cable cord, and I was like, I'm not going to pay that much ever again. Now I'm like, wait a minute. I have 16 different subscriptions to 16 different platforms, and they're all raising their prices monthly,
I just heard this morning that Netflix is raising their price again.
It's crazy.
And might be the one we watch the least, but they're right. We're not quite willing to cut ourselves off from people's recommendations, even though I don't know if I've watched it in a long time.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, that what will get you in, like Peacock, I was always like, oh, Peacock, I'll never. And then my mother-in-law came in town. She wanted to watch a University of Washington Huskies football game or something, and she was like, it's on Peacock. I was like, okay, well, I'll get it for a month, and then I'll get off of it. But then I realized how many children's movies, all the Despicable Me's and all the Sing movies, a lot of those, what's that guy, Chris Melendari? He does all the Despicable Me's. And
yeah.
That guy's killing it. Anyway, all his movies are on Peacock, so I've kept with it.
I might have lost it, but I might have a hard drive for you.
Yeah.
When ours was young,
mm-hmm.
I would do this thing where I would get kids' movies on DVD from the library, rip them to my computer. So I had like this massive catalog of kids' films on a hard drive, and then it was just like you could watch it on our Apple TV. Like you could just connect to the computer through Apple TV,
mm-hmm.
and that's how the kid watched all that stuff over and over again. But I guess you don't actually need your own hard drive anymore because all the streaming services.
It's all available. And what's nice is that I never, WALL-E was probably the last animated film I watched. I mean, that's one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's a great movie.
And that was the last one I watched as an adult where I was like, okay, I'm going to wait on all these other kids' movies until I have a kid. And then now that I have a kid, I'm watching all these, everything from, back in the 90s, Toy Story, all the way up through, the stuff now. And it's speaking to that kind of weekend warrior thing. Animation is another thing where it takes so long to make it that they got to get the story right. And they're gonna, they can take that time.
That was the Pixar thing, right? You
Yeah.
said, how come all the Pixar films have the best screenplays?
They
Inevitably. I still think The Incredibles was one of the best. It's the best superhero movie I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Actually, I think Moana
Moana's
was
so great.
It's so good.
Mm-hmm. There was something about I'm blanking on the name of the person and what the exact quote is, but I have it underneath my computer. And they were computer scientists. They knew how to make this incredible looking thing, but they were like, we need to up our story game. So they went to all the different, story people, the Robert McKees and all the things, and they, took down all these notes, and they have this like, and basically the quote was, something like, when life gets hard, get smarter. And that's what they were up against. They were like, we can do this thing, but we can't tell a good story. So they got smarter, and now they're the best storytelling, I think, in Hollywood. I mean, they have
really are.
Really, really good storytelling.
Hell, at one of those, I know you got a kid and you live in the South Bay or whatever. So, but those mixers, we do those mixers.
Yeah.
And one of the filmmakers came and he's like, "Oh, you got to see Wild Robot."
Oh yeah, I've heard that's
and
really
I went
good.
to see Wild Robot, and I was like, "This is." I sent him I sent him an email saying, "Well, I cried for a while after that one." Amusingly, it really got. I'm a step parent, so it really it's actually the robot basically step parents Bird.
Okay.
And it's amazing.
I've heard it's incredible.
It's
I need to see it.
so good.
Did it get nominated? I'm sure it did, because they just came out, right? The Oscar nominations.
They might have. Oh my God. I might have been evacuated when they came out.
That's true.
Honestly, I have no idea what's happened to the 20. All I know is.
But yeah, Wild Robot. I gotta check out. I gotta check that one.
Well,
out.
you'll watch it someday with your
sure
daughter. Yeah, you're gonna watch lots of good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it embarrassing how much better the kids' movies are?
I mean, I can watch. Well, point of reference, I can watch them over and over and over again. And a lot of times they'll hide a lot of Easter eggs in the visuals of it, and so it's fun.
They know that.
My
That
kid
was the
ends up
Pixar revolution,
yeah.
right? Pixar put enough for the parents.
Yeah, enough for the parents.
Yeah.
And my kid watches it quietly a lot without the sound, and I just like watching the visuals, how the visuals tell the story. You can kind of get what's going on, who's winning and who's losing based off of just the visuals, and that's really fun.
I'm gonna do the old man thing again and just say, look forward to this, which is when your daughter's older and you start watching, more grown up. When you decide it's time to show her Star Wars, and you decide to start showing her other stuff, they are the greatest movie critics on the planet, because there's no baggage in their minds, and like our kid would just when Force Awakens was coming, I was like, okay, it's time for you to see all the Star Wars films so we can go see Force Awakens together. And she would just turn to me when there was one of those terrible plot points in Star Wars, and she'd go, "Why did that happen?" like literally, she'd say pause, and I'd hit pause, and she'd go, "I don't understand. Why did that happen?" And I would be forced to just say, because the screenwriters were, because they were just, everyone was lazy and they didn't care, because they knew they would make $1 billion off this no matter what. And like, it was so amazing to me. Every fucked up moment that drives the nerds crazy, an 8-year-old kid picked out. Yeah. And it's like you don't realize we could, I'm actually not hip to Reddit, but we could go on Reddit and there's like a 5-hour discussion about what you just complained about. Everyone, but
her intuition was there.
It's very cool. It's very cool because they're just like, wait, why'd that happen? You're like, oh, you don't know it, but that's called a plot hole.
Now you do.
Yeah, you're asking. She was under the assumption, I think, that everything should make sense.
Yeah, of course,
in a movie.
Of course,
because when you watch Shaun the Sheep, everything makes sense. That's the most delightful series of all time from the Chicken Run Aardman Studios.
Oh yeah.
It's a TV. It's
Shaun
actually
the Sheep.
Shaun the Sheep appeared in a Wallace and Gromit
Okay, yeah.
short.
Okay, so yeah.
And then they made a series on BBC about this little baby sheep on the farm.
Love it.
And it's Charlie Chaplin-esque, silent.
Oh, love that.
And basically, when she was 5 and crying, if you put on Shaun the Sheep, the tears stopped.
All good.
It's pretty lame parenting, but what are you going to do?
I feel you.
But all good and everything. Anyway, that was. It is fun to talk about. Hey, it's the cycle of life.
That's right.
You know, heck, I'm already hoping to be a grandparent one of these days.
Wow. It's gonna be a while for me.
No, you're a good ways away.
Good ways away.
I'm a ways away too. I'm 15 plus.
Yeah.
But anyway, I almost pulled it off. Well, anything we left out?
Well, I think that's about it. You know, I'm excited to get this new project off the ground, and I'll send you the pitch deck. You can check it out.
Yeah. For the
put a little sizzle reel together for it, and I just shot some more footage for it, so I'm excited to.
It's very cool that you have you're doing the balance thing.
Yeah,
you've
trying
got,
to at least.
You've got the sort of bigger hit
if
you need it, and then you're backing it up with like the Weekender.
Absolutely,
idea.
It's like I just can't sit around and wait for people to. You know, I can certainly do my due diligence and knock on people's doors when I need to, but at the same time, like that project is made, that project is ready to go, and when I come upon the money, we'll go make it. But I've got to keep moving creatively and keep creating things that, especially when I see, you know, the obstacles I'm facing with a $2 million budget. It's like, okay, well, what's an idea that I can make for not that?
yeah. For
you
less.
know, while I wait for the $2 million to come in.
Yeah. Or when it gets done, then.
And to be honest, it's like once, you know, the whole point is like once things hit, once people start coming to you and say, what else you got? I've got dozens of other things that are ready to go. And so that's the goal.
That's the key. That's the key. Mm-hmm. Well, it was excellent to have you back.
Thank you for having me back.
I guess we're not going to do a 4 questions.
We've done it.
We could go back, but yeah. But you still go to movies.
I still go to movies.
You still go to movies.
Absolutely.
All right, so what's the best of 2024?
Okay. I really loved Nosferatu. I thought the visuals were outstanding. There's a couple of subplots that I was like, every time that subplot came out, I was like, all right, I don't need to pay attention to this. But I did love. There was several things that I was just watching over and over again. How they did it, you know, that was really cool. Robert Eggers did a great job visually, I think, with that. And my God, I just learned the other day that Count Orlok is played by Bill Skarsgård. I was like, that guy. I don't know where they found when I watched it. I was like, I don't know where they found that actor, because I guess Bill Skarsgård worked with an operatic singer to lower his octave of his voice.
So he's unrecognizable.
Unrecognizable. Completely unrecognizable. And so I thought that was pretty good. That was probably the one that I tell people I really enjoyed. I'm halfway through The Substance. Haven't seen the whole thing. Made it through The Brutalist. And Adrian Brody did great.
Right. That's new.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, see, I know he's a complicated person.
Yeah,
like I just associate him with great films.
Adrian Brody?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I could watch him. This movie was fine. It was well made, and it was just too long for me. That was good. I saw Anora. Anora is really good acting, but there was just, sometimes I just needed more to happen. They would like stay in a location for too long and kind of harp on the same things, and I'm like, let's move this forward. A lot of people didn't like it. I loved Gladiator 2. I thought it was awesome. I mean, what do you expect out of it? It was good. It was good popcorn. Great action, So yeah, those are the ones that. Also watched Amy Adams was really good in Night Bitch. That was written.
Yeah, that's on the streamers now.
Yeah, it's on Hulu, I think. That was written by an author from my home state, Iowa. So we were kind of privy to that coming out before it came out. Amy Adams does she has incredible monologues in it. My Old Ass is pretty good. It's pretty fun.
I haven't heard of that
That's
one.
Aubrey Plaza.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's about a kid who, it's sort of a coming of age story about a kid who takes some mushrooms one night and all of a sudden her older self is like right there giving her advice. And she like gets her phone number and they just start kind of texting back and forth. And it was just a really interesting concept. It's really strictly kind of a dramedy coming of age, but there's a sci-fi element to it that was kind of fun. Those are probably the ones that stick out for me. I've watched some others, but they were like drab.
Excellent. I'm going to see Better Man this weekend.
Yes, I've heard my mom just watched that. She was like, I don't know what was going on with that movie, but I kind of enjoyed it.
It just looks like such. I admit, I'm only going to it because I have a lovely friend who's a member of the TV Academy, so it's a free TV Academy.
Sure.
And
I've heard good things though. I've heard
that's like the best theater in the world too. The TV Academy.
I've never been there.
It's in North Hollywood, so not convenient for you.
Yes,
but man, we both got the coughs. It's from the fires around us. Too much.
That's
smoke.
right. We are near ground zero.
But it looks really cool and really bizarre and different. So I'm like, okay, I can go to that one.
I know. I want to see it. I'm curious about that one. I also want to see Conclave. I haven't seen that. Heard that's really good.
Oh, I love anything with a pope in it.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why. By the way, one of the I think it was direct to was the two popes direct to streaming?
Boy, I don't know.
Because I remember that was Anthony Hopkins and Jonathan Pryce, and I watched that Two Popes movie, and I was like,
that did not.
I would watch those two. Yeah, I know. I could watch those. I could watch those two sit and talk all day.
I know. And I was supposed to go see some movies a couple weeks ago, but the fires decamped us. Got us out of there. But yeah, it's just I still love going to theaters. I have that Cinemark $10 a month pass that your credits just kind of build up. So like if you happen to not go see a movie that.
Oh, so it's not unlimited for $10 a month.
It's not unlimited, but you build up credits
discount.
And you get discounts, and yeah, it's I think it's worth it.
It's interesting because I admit.
Tried to go see Moana 2, but my kid got sick, so that's the story of our lives now, right? Or my life right now.
Yeah, for sure. I know. I heard it's good too.
But
I'm nervous because like I ran around. I mean, I mentioned Moana when you were talking about kids movies, and when Moana came out, I ran around saying it shouldn't be nominated for Best Animated Film. It should be nominated for Best Picture.
Best Film, yeah.
Because I think it was easily the best film that year. I forget what won that year, but
oh yeah, that was I don't know what year that was,
but I said the same thing about WALL-E, and I said the same thing about Incredibles, but WALL-E still holds up too.
WALL-E is amazing.
Yeah,
WALL-E is the best. I remember I saw that twice in the theaters in the same week. I think I was 30.
Well, and people find this offensive, but I think the only Pixar film I'm not super into is Toy Story.
Toy Story is great. Toy Story does well. There's one that I wasn't into lately. Is called Wish. That was a tough one to get through. I didn't
see Wish.
It was really interesting animation that they did on it. I just the songs are a little irritating.
Music is
it's tough. Some of those, especially the Lin-Manuel, Encanto, Moana, like those soundtracks are they're so good. And so I think my expectations were too high. Yeah. Also, I don't think it's a Pixar thing. I think it's just Disney.
And if the music leans towards Broadway,
it was very Broadway
instead of good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Broadway music is horrible. Horrible.
I like good Broadway music.
If it's good. It's something else. If it's got a jazzy element or something else or...
Wish came off, like a lot of their songs came off a little Broadway.
Yeah, and that's just like, I'm out. I'm out. Sorry, I'm out. You don't need me. Hell. All right. We could go another half hour talking about this shit. But, because Lord knows you get me started talking about musicals. I pretended to like them at first for a little while. For
certain ones are good, but certain like the whole pantheon is not really my style. So
it's not. But I will say that I think Cabaret is one of the best things ever made.
Cabaret is great.
It's amazing, and the music's amazing. An amazing story. And then, you go back to the Pantages and you see, Annie, and you're like, I'm pretty sure my wife and I left during intermission we left during intermission. By the way, this will offend people, but Annie, Fiddler on the Roof, and what's the super offensive one about the woman looking for the husband thing? I'm forgetting. It's like one of the super classics. It's like, and it was just like, we're like intermission comes and I'm like, can we go? Can we go? Because this is actually causing me physical pain to be here. All right. Well, hey. Clickable links. There will be clickable links in the show notes. VictorHouseFilms.com, TyClancy.com, and at Ty Clancy on the social medias. I'll wrap us up. So thank you, everyone. Discover Indie Film is the name of the podcast. Like and subscribe. Be nice. And if you want to learn more, go to discoverindiefilm.com. On social media, it's always at DIF Wins. And the cool thing is, hey, Karina, are you listening? Karina is the producer of this podcast now, and she does the social media. So even though I've expressed that I'm not doing social media anymore, there still are posts for this. Good. Your podcast will be announced when it comes out. So thank you, Karina, for that. And if you wanted and by the way, the series Ty and I talked about, Discover Indie Film, is still on. It is still on Amazon Prime Video. So if you just search for it, it's $7.99 for 10 episodes, but you are putting $8 in to watch like 25, 30 super high quality shorts. It's good shit. All right.
Check it out.
Check those out.
Thank you for having me back.
Yeah. And Sherman Oaks Film Festival, where both Drawn and Thank You for Staying played. Every December, ShermanOaksFF.com, and it's at Sherman Oaks FF on social media. Sister Festival is FilmInvasionLA.com and at FilmInvasionLA on social media. And we talked about Indie Channel a little bit. Mm-hmm. IndieChannel.tv is the website. And there's like 200 fantastic independent films on there right now. So check it out, maybe. If you want to pretend to like indie film. And who knows, it might have a rebirth, but it'll never fully disappear. Because I can't let it. Even talking to you, I'm like, God damn it. All the stuff you mentioned, I'm like, it really needs to. It's just
It's a great platform. It's a great platform.
We need somewhere we can go.
Somewhere that us, filmmakers who have yet to break through, can showcase their work and have some place that they can say, hey, they can point to, say, look, my stuff's on that.
And there are audiences who, I'll compare it to fine art. There are people who go to the mall and they'll buy something to put on the wall, from Z Gallery, and that's fine. And there's people who like art. Right? There's people who want to go to an art gallery and see. So, there's people who are super happy watching, a terrible I'm just going to be an asshole. A terrible Netflix series about a rabbi that fucks everything up. If you like that show, my apologies, but it's really, talk about lowest common denominator entertainment. And then there's people who are like, I want to see something I haven't seen before. And
there you go.
They've got to find it somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give me something fresh.
That's what we're trying to do, Jeff. I'm trying to give you some fresh stuff.
Do I need more Squid Game?
I know.
I'm being a jerk. All right. Well, anyway.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone who is listening.